moderator for the evening. Thank you.
Do you want to say something first, or
He puts them on, he closes them up and takes them off. Really, he's had them and he's shaved.
Hi, good evening, and Happy New Year.
Can't see faces in the back. Thank you.
The first order of business is we're going to pick an order for the candidates to actually speak. And Robert has a box with 4 numbers in it, and if you could just have the candidates pick that.
are you ready?
Go ahead, Shirley.
Can we have the candidates all come up here?
While this is going on, several people that asked me whether I was going to be the moderator this evening. And I told them no, actually I was having knee replacement surgery yesterday. But the doctor insisted I have a stress test, so that's why I'm here.
For your stress test.
This is my stress test.
I got it.
Very good.
Good one.
It's true.
Yes. Candace here. Harris is number 1. Candace is 2. And your 3, Jeff is 3, and Ben is 4.
Thank you. Before we get started, I think we're certainly happy that we have the professionals that we do. Can't thank Robert and Teresa enough for the work that they do for us. And I just want to thank you. Also, I want to acknowledge the 2 board members that are retiring for now from the board, Andrea Stillman and Norman Berkowitz. And I thank them for the last 2 years for donating back their salary to Tivoli Lakes.
I kept some of mine.
You don't get a salary?
I kept some of
You
mine.
do that for nothing? I can't believe it.
Losing the deal on
Not yet.
that front.
So we have 2 positions and 4 candidates. They've picked an order to speak to you. The rules are that they will have 5 minutes each to make preliminary remarks. And then at the end of the evening, they have 3 minutes each to make closing remarks. After the preliminary remarks, we're going to gather questions if you have any questions to ask. I will go through the questions. Please, the rules say 1 question per person on 1 topic. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't get around to a second question for you if we have time. But if you give me a question with multiple parts, either it's going to be redacted by me to be 1 part, or it's just not going to be heard because it's way too complicated. It gets way too complicated. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the questions. You can ask the question to the array, to all of them if you wish to do so, or to 1 individual. And then after that 1 individual speaks, the other 3 will have the opportunity for 1 minute to respond to your question. If the question is inappropriate or objectionable, and that's something that's subjective with me, I've done a few of these before, then I'm just going to toss the question and go on to the next one. Many of you may ask the same question or a variety of the same question. And if that's the case, I'm not going to repeat it over and over again. Once we get an answer to the question, we'll let it pass and I'll go to the next one. Any questions? And that's all I have in my notes right now. So I'd like to introduce the candidates. First of all, I'll go in alphabetical order.
First name or last name?
Pardon me? I'm going to call you all by your first name, but I'm going to introduce you with first name and last name. So in alphabetical order, we have Candace Colbert. Colbert. Candace Colbert. Candace. Then we have Ben Cass. Jeffrey Smith. And Harris Zelkin. And Harris picked number 1, so Harris is going to be the first person to give you his 5-minute introductory remarks. And thank you all for being so attentive.
Okay, as you know, my name is Harris Zelkin. I'm running for the Board of Directors for Tivoli Lakes. And I just listened. 1 second. I've been active in Tivoli since my wife, Rhoda, and I moved into the community almost 14 years ago. I've been asked why...
Closer.
Closer?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been asked why run for the board now. Tivoli has evolved from a beautiful small community that lacked many amenities into a quality community complete with new and expanded facilities to satisfy the needs and desires of both our long and recent homeowners. With these additions, Tivoli Lakes is quickly becoming recognized as a premier boutique community among the 55 and old developments in central Palm Beach County. The focus of Tivoli must be to sustain the position we have achieved with dedicated individuals who have demonstrated the interest and willingness to serve and continue to grow Tivoli Lakes. Towards that end, I ask you to consider my dedication to Tivoli Lakes. I have chaired the Finance, Budget, and Insurance Committee, FBI, for the past 7 years. I have chaired the Architecture Review Board for the past 11 years, except for the time served on the Board of Directors. I was elected to Tivoli Lakes Transition Board when we took over from the builder, Home Depot. I'm sorry for this. Technology is not what it used to be. No, that's working, I'm not working. Sorry. Okay. Currently, I'm a member of the Tivoli Lakes Rules Committee. I served on the search committee for HOA legals.
Closer to your mouth.
Sorry, I searched on...
Really close.
Okay.
Yes.
Currently I'm serving on the Tivoli Lakes Rules Committee. I have served on the Committee for HOA Legal Services and Property Management Search. I served prior on the Safety and Landscape Committee. Our newly expanded facilities brings a special opportunity to all Tivoli residents, especially the incoming board, to encourage the use and enjoyment of these facilities available to us as a result of the financial investment we have all made in this wonderful community. If elected to the board, I commit the following: deal with the current and future issues with an open mind and an unwavering commitment to the betterment of Tivoli Lakes, to support the use of our new clubhouse, pickleball, and bocce facilities, maintain the Tivoli Lakes tennis facility and professional management team. I encourage all homeowners, new and old, to consider involvement in one of the many committees and/or clubs available to us now and in years to come. I encourage all homeowners to attend the expanded social events planned for in our new clubhouse. During my tenure on the FBI and working closely with the board of directors, I strive to meet our budgetary obligations with responsible recommendations of operating funds, while at the same time creating a strong reserve funding position for Tivoli Lakes. I ask you for your vote in this election so I can bring my past experience and commitment to the 2020 Board of Directors. Thank you.
It's already on.
Can you all hear me? Yes. Hi, my name's Candace. I've been living here full-time for about 6 years now, and I'd like to have a little audience participation. I'm going to ask a few questions. You can answer, raise your hand, or choose not to. Raise your hand if you think the quarterly HOA dues are too high. Raise your hand if you think the board has been transparent. Has been transparent. That means they've told us all the information. Okay. Raise your hand if you would like to see a positive change.
It's good now.
Raise your hand if you think the quarterly fees will go down. If you said yes to the first 3 questions and no to the last question, that's the platform I'm running on. My personal qualifications are I was up in New York, I was a board member for 30 years, board president for 25. I've worked with property managers, engineers, attorneys, city agencies, state agencies. I know how to do a budget. I know how to do capital improvements. I know what a reserve fund is. I know how to transfer money properly. I've had years and years of experience working with contractors, and I know it's important to get bids to get a job done correctly. I know it's important to get a scope of work to get a job done correctly, and I know all of these, whether it's the highest bid or the lowest bid, needs to be viewed and it needs to be looked at with a clear and equal resolve. We're very fortunate that we have Robert and Teresa working for us, but I think we underutilize their expertise. Robert knows many of the surrounding communities, he knows many of the situations and the issues that arise, and I think his expertise is quite underutilized, as is many of our residents who have worked in contracts, attorneys, building, glass, doors, many areas that are underutilized, and these people that live in this community and are on these committees and give feedback back to the board, and it's not taken advantage of, and I don't understand that. I believe the board has to pay attention to the needs of the whole community, of every one of us. We're all equal, and not to the needs of a select few. I think it's important to get feedback from the residents. I think it's important to listen to what the residents have to say. Not everything is black and white. Not everything is going to be agreeable by the board or by the community, but there has to be a compromise situation where the board can listen, since they represent us, to what we would like to see happen. I want to be an active say in what our community looks like and the issues that arise. I think that's important. We all need positive change. We don't need negative comments. Nothing is black and white. There is a gray area, and I feel that sometimes you have to come together and have the discussion and reach an agreeable answer. That's my platform.
Thank you, Candace. Jeffrey?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your interest in the candidates tonight. Communities like ours are a microcosm of people with diverse interests and opinions. Regardless of the nature of an issue, it would be unlikely to have a unanimous consensus. A diligent working board realizes that they must address all issues and come to conclusions that will benefit the majority of our residents. That's not an easy thing to do because some people won't be satisfied with any decision the board makes. Therefore, it's important for the board members to set aside their personal interests and make hard decisions to operate the HOA. And until you've sat through many multi-hour working board meetings and see how much discussion takes place before votes are made to spend HOA funds on various projects, you don't really have an appreciation for what it takes to be a board member. As a result, the number of residents willing to sacrifice their retirement free time to HOA activities has been very minimal since 2008, when there were 10 candidates for 5 positions. There are those who will always find something to complain about. After all, our community isn't called Utopia Lakes. The HOA directors try their best to work on problem areas in a timely manner, sometimes getting quick resolutions, and sometimes it's back to the drawing board. We're approaching our 16th year of existence. The board and the entire membership will continue to make some decisions regarding our common areas and buildings that may require additional capital expenditures. These issues will be presented and debated as they occur and may or may not get approved by the members. I will encourage all of you to take a genuine interest in these projects, and if you have experience that lends itself to serving on committees, please step forward. My decision to seek a position on the board to help the board create a long-term plan for our common assets and infrastructure, maintenance and future enhancements that will continue to add to the quality of our lives for many years to come. I hope you'll support my efforts and put a check mark in the box next to Jeffrey Smith on your ballot. Thank you.
Ben?
Oh, I guess I need one. Actually, I'm one of the few people who don't need a microphone.
Oh, yes, you do.
My voice can be heard far and wide, even when I don't want it to. My name is Ben Cass, and I'm probably the newest resident in the room, I would think. I've been here 7 months, and they've been 7 glorious months. I absolutely love living at Tivoli Lakes, and I look forward to a great future with all of you. I don't know many of you, but I want to get to know you very well. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to college in Kansas City, and then I lived in California for 40 years before coming to Tivoli. Please don't hold that against me. When in California, I did serve on homeowners boards. I was the president for 1 year, served on the board for 3 years. I lived there for 4 years. And probably the biggest challenge was taking over an association that came from a very corrupt developer. And trust me on that, I don't know how he got everything passed. Imagination was what we needed for that. Anyway, I want to talk about, because I have talked to many people and they all have pretty much common comments to say about how things are going. I believe in 4 points in Tivoli. Number 1, and most important, is fiscal responsibility and discipline. I believe it's absolutely important for us to spend our money wisely because there's not a lot of it. I believe the reserves are very important and the reserves must be handled, and we have to stick to our budgets, and special projects need to be looked at specially. But financial responsibility and discipline only comes with understanding what the needs of the community are. Yes, I want to have the classiest community there can be, but there's a price for that, and we have to balance that. Let's be as classy and as terrific as we can, but understand what our limitations are, and understand that if we're going to do something of enormous capacity, there's going to have to be some discipline, there's going to have to be creativity, and we're going to have to discipline our future. Second is transparency. And a lot of you said that the board has been transparent, and I would like to continue in that vein. I'm a great listener. I was in sales most of my life, and one thing, the most important thing I learned in selling is that if you want to influence people and work with people, you have to listen. There's a reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we should be listening twice as much as we're talking. And I firmly believe that. I've worked most of my career with high-level executives who have goals and aspirations for their companies, and I had to listen to what they're saying and absorb that and show them that our products were what they needed to achieve their goals. And the only way you can do that is by listening. 3, understand the will of the community. And that is a continually ongoing process. We have to listen, we have to hear, we have to talk. There are a great many people out there with 324 homes. There's probably somewhere around 600 residents, so there's a lot of professionalism, a lot of expertise out there. Number 4 is encourage volunteers. As I said, there's talent, there's expertise, there's professional experience, and there are connections. There are people out there in the community who know how to do things, and anyone who has experience in a category that we're looking for, we should listen to those people, take advice, and not let our egos get in the way. So we need to leverage the knowledge of the community, and in my view, those 4 points are what we need to be successful. Very importantly, because I have 30 seconds, just under, our homeowners dues are a very big issue. Everyone talks about that. And it's been going up about 10%, a little under 10% every year. And that's got to stop. We're heading towards quarterly dues of $2,000, and that's unconscionable. So very simply, to wrap it up, we have a very simple decision to make. You can stick with the status quo, or you can go in a new direction with new ideas and new community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you to all the candidates. We're going to now collect questions if you have questions. Robert has a box. You can write them down. If you have a question, put it in the box and I'll take it from there. This is dangerous, you know. It's on a roller. Awesome. Yeah, I already have the intermediate. Take the ball. Norman, what are you going to do in your spare time?
I'm gonna come and, I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna walk
You're
Bo.
welcome to walk Bo. I'm going to need some walkers at the beginning of February 11th.
I'll walk Bo.
I volunteer. I won't be here, maybe.
Where'd Robert go?
Sorry, back again.
Any other questions?
Now, if you develop a question as we're doing this, you can write it down, bring it up, I'm happy to take it. Well, a lot of questions. Okay, this is a question for everybody. We're going to start with number one, and we're just going to work our way this way. And you'll remind me, if I started with him last time, the next one should be Kenneth's. All right, what is your opinion regarding the removal of the mahogany trees?
Everybody left.
Start with an easy one. You have 1 minute each to respond to the question.
If I start with 45 seconds, did I count?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Close.
Put the mic right up to your mouth.
The removal of the mahogany trees.
She's trying to help.
There's obviously diverse opinion on it. My concern right now for the mahoganies, in my opinion, is that they are creating a problem for the community. There's an infrastructure, there's an injury problem, and if in fact the community has to remove them by, according to the county, or the way the community was originally budded, then removal of the mahoganies or deep-rooted, heavy-rooted trees, I think is to the advantage of the community. We've had a lot of money spent as a result of insurance claims. We've had a lot of money spent on Robert clearing out and concerned about our infrastructure, the waterways. I'm in favor of removing the mahogany trees.
Thank you.
I can only speak for myself. I don't have a whole lot of information about what exactly is going on with mahogany trees. I know that some of them cause people to trip. I know some of them cause the pavers to come up. I don't know exactly the specifics of the mahogany trees, but I think that it would probably be a good idea to get more information out to all of the residents as to what options we have for the mahogany trees? I mean, is it just knocking them down? Is that the best solution? Is there a possibility of saving some of them that aren't causing harm? Can you ball them? Can you check the root system? See, these are things that I don't know. I want to find out about that. I'm thinking that many of you want to find out also, because I can't make an honest judgment, a valued judgment, unless I have every piece of information in front of me.
Please try to hold your applause until the end now with these questions. Go ahead.
My knowledge of trees could fill a thimble. I've been on for years. I really don't have enough information. I know the problems that they create. I have trees in front of my house that are constantly wrecking the pavers. I know that there's an expense to clean them out every year so that they don't get knocked over in the hurricanes, and even with that, they still do. There's a tremendous future liability to this community if something isn't done. I don't think I'm as, people are opposed to having them removed as they are of having them replaced with something different. So my suggestion would be to see what the financial repercussions are and see what the alternatives are for planting on the resident streets, not necessarily along Tivoli Lakes Boulevard.
Thank you. Ben, you want to answer that?
Yes. I'm like the rest of the people here. I don't have the answer, but I have done research outside of the community. I do have a couple of friends who are very involved in landscape issues. One of my friends is a developer of golf courses, and he also builds them. And both of them quickly told me that there are solutions. Rather than spending $306,000 and destroying these beautiful trees. I'm not saying that, and it goes back to my point number one, fiscal responsibility, transparency, and understanding the will of the community. We have to find out, we have a town hall meeting, an open meeting where we can all get the opportunity to see the facts, see the options. I know that there are options. $306,000 is something you don't just make a decision lightly on. We must do diligence.
Okay. There were three or four questions, all of them that related to the mahogany trees. So I'm not going to duplicate them. And the rest of the questions are pretty good. So I'm picking them at random. What? Yeah, well, nor do I want to answer them. Okay, this is to all the candidates. Do you know what the top five budget line items are in our 2020 budget? Go ahead. And I'll give you the answer afterwards. I have it written down. It's for everybody. You start, Candace.
The top five? 2020?
Microphone, Mike.
Sorry. For 2020? Yeah. Okay. The first one is maintenance fees, operating expenses.
No.
Do you want me to give you the amount? Would you like the amount?
$372,000. Go ahead.
Late fees, interest.
No.
No. No. I don't know what you're
Okay.
from. So
I mean, I have,
it says reserves. I'll give you that answer.
I don't know.
Let me give you all five, and then you can all comment on them. Lawn maintenance, $372,000. Reserves, $299,500. Cable TV and internet, $298,000. Management, personnel, taxes, etc., $252,000. And gatehouse staff, $150,000. Those are, according to the question, these are the top five budget items. You want to make a comment with regard to them?
All of that comes into play with the raising of our quarterly dues. I don't know if what I'm seeing here and what you're saying are not exactly the same. What I see here is a little bit different. There are things on here that I don't understand. For example, there's something here that says social events, I understand that. There's something here that says cul-de-sac lighting, I understand that. Operating expenses, what I have for my operating expenses on this budget is $2,242,080. Last year, 2019, it was $2,090,448. So I'm not sure which amount is the accurate and the correct amount. I can only say that in 2017, we had a quarterly dues of approximately $1,400. Now it's $1,700.
Talk about that.
The answer to the question, why did the HOA quarterly dues go up, is simple. It was explained. We have a $200,000, I believe, obligation to Hotwire. They did a projection for additional landscaping needs. The reserves, those are the four big items, or three big items. There's no community in this area whose HOA fees go down. That's a fact of life. I have a 91-year-old cousin living at Coral Lakes in a 2-bedroom, multi-story building whose quarterly dues are $2,200. $2,200 in Coral Lakes with a population 10 times the size of Tivoli. Our quarterly dues are in line with our surrounding communities for the amenities that we have.
Ben?
I don't think anybody expects the dues to go down. I'm certainly not going to make that promise, but I believe that we typically, when dues go up, it's 1%, 2%, or 3%. Shouldn't be, unless there's some unbelievable expenditure, it shouldn't be much more than that. Now, there's maintenance fees. I see that, it's 2.2 million. I'd like to see that broken down. What actually is in that budget, and see where things can be trimmed. There's a lot of things that we can adjust to once. Excuse me. Once we see what is actually inside these budgets, and that's where we have to address them.
Thank you.
Harris. Okay.
He's the expert.
I have a perhaps a closer relationship to the numbers. Our dues have gone up, and there's, as was said, dues do not go down. Our lawn maintenance right now, it's gone up contractually. The reality of our lawn maintenance is it's by bids. It's the lowest vendor that we could have within reason. The next highest one, I think, correct, I may be correct, was about $100,000 more per year. Robert, you can correct me. Personnel, we know who our personnel are. Someone raise their hand, who wants to get rid of Robert? And after that, who wants to get rid of Teresa? So I'm going to have to hold my ground on that one. Same thing for the gatehouse. They sit out there all day. They have a job to do, they do their job. I think they're doing their job well. They may not have the same personality that others, but they're doing their job. And that's what the money is.
Okay, thank you. This is to everybody. What are your thoughts on providing increased transparency to the homeowners regarding decisions, details made by the board? What are your thoughts about increased transparency, Jeffrey?
I think there's a real issue here. How many people attend working board meetings? Very few. That's where the nuts and bolts take place in our community. This is a government agency in essence. You elect your officers to do and represent, to make decisions. Any decisions that require a capital expenditure in excess of $50,000 has to be approved by the membership. But anything other than policy, policies are the purview of the board. So I don't see that, I've never seen a lack of transparency unless it comes to certain personnel issues, which are not public. Those stay within the board. But issues affecting the community, I think the boards over the last 15 years have done a pretty good job of keeping the community informed.
Ben?
Well, you know, transparency is a big thing for me. It's my number 2 goal to attain. And I believe that attending board meetings is very important for people in the community. That's where you can voice your opinions. They have not been well attended. I went to a couple. I wish I could go to more, but quite honestly, I believe that 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning is a very difficult time. A lot of people work, some people work, other people, I'm playing tennis Tuesdays at 10, so that restricts me. So I think a better time to get people, because I want to hear from you. I want everything. I want to hear everything you have to say. So, as far as transparency, I think $306,000 to replace the trees without going to a vote of the community, that's a big one. And I think I want to hear more from people about that.
Okay, I have another question for the floor. How many people went to the board meeting today?
The board.
We had a tennis match.
The morning board meeting, working board meeting, how many people went, other than the board members? Jeff, that's where you get to make points, recommendations.
Thank you, Harris. Candace?
I used to go to the board meetings, and I would make comments, and in the beginning, I would support the board in their decisions. As time passed, and I would raise my hand and speak, and I don't want to get into too many specifics. One of them was about getting bids for the major renovation. When I worked, and I was an assistant principal in a large high school in New York City, I had to get 3 bids before I presented it to the principal. I just questioned why 3 bids were not gotten for this major job that we had done. I did raise my hand and I did ask. I never really got an answer. I find that that's not transparent. If there's a good reason why they didn't get bids, I never heard it. And I don't know if anybody else heard it either.
Well, this is a question for Candace. Besides tennis, have you been involved with the community? Oh, okay. That means you're trying to listen. That's very good. Thank you. Besides tennis for Candace, have you been involved with the community? How many clubs are you a member of? How often do you attend board meetings?
Like I said originally, I used to attend the board meetings. I play tennis, I go to the pool, I've gone to the social events that Teresa has organized within the community, I've done that. I'm not a card player. I play golf, but I'm not a card player. And like I said, I've only been down here full-time for the last 6 years. I ride my bike, I meet people, I talk to people. I don't think I'm a recluse. I get out as much as I can. And as far as clubs, because I do play tennis, because I do play golf, and I go to the pool, I really don't have a whole lot of time, and I also paint, and that takes up a lot of my time. So, yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody, any of the other candidates wish to comment on the question to Candace? No. So I'll move on to the next question. How do you suggest we get more residents involved and active in serving on committees and running for the board of directors for next year? Who's that for? It's for Ben. I think we're up to Ben.
That's a good question. I want people to be involved, and I think that if we do hold our board meetings at a time when the majority of people can attend, then you'll see that rise in involvement. I think that's critical because people can attend. And myself, I play tennis every Tuesday morning in a match. I'm representing you there. So I would like to see the board meetings held at night so that we all can attend, and we're going to have a big call for it, so let's do it. Let's get people involved. And I would encourage you to get involved.
Harris, you want to answer that?
I think, admittedly, there are a relatively small number of people that get involved or seek to be involved in committees or certain clubs. Clubs, if that's a topic that interests or an event that interests you, then clubs can be set up by a group of people. You don't need the board to help set up a club. To get to join a committee, I think we would serve ourselves well if at some point in the near future, with as many new people that we have in the community, to have like an open house, get to meet the various committees that are available. Are you interested? Get to know the committee chair or board liaison and talk about your qualifications and what the objective of the committee is, and maybe we can find people. I know we need people for the ARB. I know we can use people on the finance committee. So I would just have it open up.
Candace? No, you answered. No, you didn't answer this one yet.
Yeah, she started it.
No, she didn't start it.
Well, I play tennis. I go to the pool. I go to the fitness center. I've taken part in many of the social events.
That was not the question. The question is, how do you...
On the board. Oh, right. How would I...
You did answer the other question.
Nobody.
No, nobody wanted to speak about the question to you. This question is, how do you suggest we get residents involved and active in serving on the board and running for the board next year?
I know personally that my friends and neighbors volunteered for a number of different committees to get things done. I know they did that. I know that some of those committee members gave feedback on what they found for the different specific areas that they were researching. I also know that the feedback that they gave into the board was, and these committee members were experts in the field of construction and doors and tennis lighting, and I know their input was not, again, personally speaking, I don't think that their input was taken as seriously as it should have been for the work that was done. And to get more people involved, I think you have to respect what they give as feedback. I think you have to respect their expertise. I think you have to listen with an open mind and be willing to compromise. It's not white or black, there's gray areas, and I think the board and the committees need to reach those common areas and come to a decision based on that.
Thank you, John.
Have coffee and donuts at the meeting. You'll get people to turn out.
Okay, here's a question for everyone, and this question, we're going to start with Harris. In a community of 324 homes, what's a reasonable approach to repair or replacement of 30 mailboxes? Huh? Not sure about this question. We replaced all our mailboxes already.
I have an answer.
You know what this is about?
No, but I have an answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Replacing 30 mailboxes, one at a time.
Very good.
Any comment on replacing 30 mailboxes? I'll just go on to the next question. I'm sorry, whoever wrote that, I'm not sure what you were referring to. What committee have you served on, this is for all, to prepare you for this position? And Candace.
I haven't served on a committee here to prepare me for this position. I served on the committee up north for 30 years, 25 as president. Every year they elected me. And other people did run. I didn't run unopposed, but evidently they were happy with what I did. The community was spread out much like this. We had 233 homes spread out over an area of about 2 miles. It wasn't one building. So any capital improvements that we had to make, they were made over the whole area, roofing, driveways, pavement, sidewalks, landscaping, garages, everything was done with all of that taken into consideration. That's my experience.
I served on the board for 7 years, 1 year as president, a few years as treasurer. I started in my last year on the board, the FACE committee, which was the planning committee, which created all of the wonderful pickleball, bocce courts, landscaping on Tivoli Lakes Boulevard. The new social hall was all part of the programs that I created. I think I can serve this community very well. I've also been accused of being on too many committees, which, take it from the source.
Like I said, I'm new here. I've only been here 7 months, but I consider myself new blood. I have been a board president. I served on the board for 3 years in California. I have experience. Again, we took it over from a corrupt developer, and we had to right the ship. And as president, I did right that ship and left them in good shape. But my energy and the fact that I do want to join committees, particularly the tennis committee, I've voiced my opinion about that. So I want to be part of that, and probably other committees I want to be part of. So I'm looking forward to it.
Harris?
I started off as a board member of the transition committee when we took over from the builder. From there, I was active on the legal search and the property management when we were looking to change over property management companies, the safety and the landscape committee when we first started out the first few years. Then I was appointed also in the first year as the chair of the ARB, which I've been up to now, with the exception of the one term I spent on the board. And I've been the chair of the FBI for the last 7 years, 9 years, 7 years I guess it is.
FBI.
Finance, but insurance.
I got it. Okay, thank you. This is for Harris and Jeff, it says. You served on the board before. Why should we elect you again instead of giving new people fresh ideas a chance to serve? And this one goes to Jeff first.
I don't have a problem with new people who want to be on the board. But I think that the people have to be quality. They have to be dedicated to giving up time. Time sometimes takes the priority away from your other activities because you have a responsibility, once you take the position, to fulfill the time that's necessary. So I don't have any problem. I encourage all new residents, get involved, come and bring your skills. I don't have a problem with that. But I also feel that to maintain the progress of this community is very important to me, and it should be to you. You have a lot of money invested in this community, and that has to be protected. We don't want status quo. Status quo is regression. We want to make sure that there are no homes for sale at Tivoli Lakes. That's because there's a great demand. I was talking to a realtor.
Tell us about the realtor.
People should come in and get involved. There's a lot to learn about operating and directing this community. And 11 years of involvement, I still don't know half of what these guys who have been doing, both been on the board for a couple of years now. But I think it's difficult to walk in and assume you know what's going on and where it has to go.
Can I have another minute?
No? Sorry. Candace or Ben, would you like to say anything about the question to Harris and Jeff?
Well, when I was on the board up north, I worked full-time. Believe me, I know what it's like to be on the board. It's a thankless job. I never got paid. I worked full-time at school. I came home and I had to do board work, meeting with the property manager, meeting with the contractors, and when it snowed, I had to go out there in the snow and take care of the snow removal. Yeah, I know what it's like. I know what time allocation is. I think probably a benefit, since I don't belong to a lot of different clubs, I'm going to have a lot more time to be on the board and take care of that. So, yeah, I know how to allocate time, and I know time is important and valuable.
Ben, you have any comments you'd like to make?
Sure. Same with me. When I was the president of my board in California, I was a commission sales rep. So, you know, time away from work was critical. So, but I did it. I got it done, and there'll certainly be plenty of time in my schedule. And I'm going to insist that the meetings be held in the evening.
Just out of curiosity, working board meetings last how many hours?
Roughly 3.
3 hours?
Or more, or
Okay.
more.
Thank you. Here's another question for everybody. How many meetings of the Board of Directors have you attended in the past 6 months? This is starting with Jeff.
I don't have an exact number, but I'll say probably 6 or 7. Well, yeah, easily, because I've been involved with the planning on the development of the clubhouse. So there have been meetings that I've gone to. Yeah, that's 6 or 7. Not every month.
Ben?
I've been to 2. Again, we play tennis Tuesday afternoon, so it's hard to get there.
Okay, thank you. Harris?
I try to attend the working board meetings almost all the time. I don't know how many it's been, but it's, and more often than not.
And Candace, you want to answer that one?
I think I've been to 2 working board meetings.
Okay, thank you. This is for Ben and Candace. How many current board meetings have you, how many current board members have you introduced yourself to and discussed aspects of serving on the board? Ben?
I have not brought that up with any of them.
Candace?
I didn't discuss that with any of them either.
Do you wish to say anything, Jeff or Harris, on that question to the two of them? No? I'll move on.
Okay, talk about the realtor? I got a minute.
No, Jeff.
I have a minute.
First, let me ask you a question. 1 second. Yeah, it's a long question. I'm just reading it. It's the second time I'm reading it. Okay, it's more of a comment. I'm just going to hold the sides. It's too long. And we're getting, all right. Here's a question. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 equals do nothing, reduce, and do nothing, reduce it says, and 10 equals keep up with the Joneses spending. Okay, 1 is do nothing and reduce, 10 is keep up with the Joneses spending. Where do you stand on trying to maintain our communities as a whole and keep home values up without focused on just one particular neighborhood feature? All right, this Harris starts with this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you as far as reducing or keeping everything the way it is, or increasing to keep up with the Joneses? Pick a number.
I don't think it's our goal to keep up with the Joneses, because right now I think the Joneses are starting to keep up with us. And where we are right now, I'm comfortable staying where we are on the same rate of growing when we can, when the money is there, and when the opportunity is there.
Okay. Candace, would you like to comment on that, please?
I think anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, it's not a good thing. I think the only thing we have to focus on is making sure that Tivoli Lakes is the best Tivoli Lakes can be. not because Valencia is got a cafe or the other communities have what they have. I think as long as we focus on making Tivoli best, that's what we need to do, and not worry about keeping up with anyone else.
Jeffrey?
In order to pare the budget, to reduce it, pick out those items that you don't think are necessary to maintain the quality of lifestyle that you want. And I will guarantee you that when taking a vote, no one's going to vote to do that. Because they like what they bought here for a reason. They like living here. The realtors have told me that the demand for houses in Tivoli Lakes the supply cannot meet the demand of houses in Tivoli Lakes. That's what you have. You've got a terrific asset, you want to maintain the value of that asset, and that requires money. Nothing goes down. The FPL bill doesn't go down. You want to cut your own grass, we could eliminate almost $400,000.
Ben?
Sure. Yeah, I also agree that I don't care what goes on in the other communities. Tivoli Lakes needs to be Tivoli Lakes. And we need to just find our own happiness. And so I believe that number is somewhere around a 5. We have to look at every possible thing we can do, what it's going to cost, and can we afford it, and is it responsible to do that? We have a beautiful community right now, so if we don't do 1 or 2 great things, we're still great.
Okay, thank you all. This is a question for Harris and Jeff again, and we're going to start this with Jeff. Why did Jeff and Harris decide to leave the board having served? Why'd you leave?
Because I have a life. And I figured 7 years of my dedicated time needed a vacation. And I felt that as I left, the first meeting I went to was the board meeting that took over. And I said, I am available to help this board any way possible. You have my phone number. And they took advantage of that many times during the last couple of years that I was not on the board. But there were people who wanted to step forward, and I said, great, and I encouraged them.
Harris, you want to answer that?
At that time, I found being on the board was difficult, that I didn't perhaps know enough or have the background for it. And I felt more comfortable putting in my 1 year and my 1 term, and then moving on. Now I feel more comfortable having experienced what I have had in the various committees, various clubs, that I feel very comfortable and very secure that I know what to expect.
Thank you. Harris or Ben, do you want to comment on why they left the board?
I don't know why they left the board. Glad to see you back. I think giving everybody choices is a great thing, and that's what we need. But I said it before, we want to go in a new direction. There are new people here who will take you there.
Okay, this is a question for Ben and Candace. Candace, we'll start with you. Have you ever volunteered for an HOA committee, not a club?
I haven't volunteered for an HOA committee only because the committees that they were looking for, I didn't really have the expertise. A couple of those was mailboxes, one was lighting in the tennis courts, another was doors, fobs, and I felt I didn't have that kind of expertise, that my input would be valuable, so no, I never did.
Ben?
No, I never did either. Again, I've only been here a short time. I'm still getting my footing. I welcome the opportunity to serve on a committee. I have expressed an interest in being on the tennis committee. So anything else in my area of expertise, I'd be more than happy to serve.
Harris, any comment? You don't have to make a comment. No? Jeff? This is a question for all, and we're beginning this one with Candace. Did you vote for or against the clubhouse expansion, and why? If you were not here, would you have voted for or against, and why?
I did not vote for the clubhouse expansion because we weren't given a choice. It was expand the clubhouse, do the landscaping down Tivoli Lakes Boulevard, put in the bocce courts. It was one package. You either voted for that or you said no. That's what I remember. It was either the big expansion or nothing. We weren't given a choice as to just do the inside, don't tear down walls, just do the inside, tear down the walls on the inside. It was just knock down the walls on the outside and enlarge it. So I felt that we didn't have bids, we didn't have a scope of work. I didn't know what it involved. I felt that there was too much information missing. And since I didn't have enough information, I couldn't, in all conscience, vote for it.
Okay. Jeff?
Well, yeah, I would vote for it again. I disagree with what Candace said. There are two separate parts to the expansion. One was for the clubhouse expansion and renovation, and the other part was for the landscaping. Those the Joe Benjamins, Willie Berkowitz, who spent countless hours dealing with vendors and helping this project get to its final state. So the answer is yes, a resounding yes.
Ben?
Well, I wasn't here, I didn't see it, so I can't really comment.
Okay.
Harris?
We voted in favor of it, and I would do it again. If it's an improvement to the community that will, in fact, I think, like this is paying off, and I'm saying that from a standpoint of, look at how many homes we have for sale. Look at how many homes we've sold in the last 4 or 5 years. I think it's about 79. Look at the arrears that we have in our dues. People are affording to live here. People are there aren't enough houses to sell. So, and I think that's attributable to the decision that was made and work and effort that was put in by the committee.
Okay, thank you. Here's a question, I guess. Well, this individual didn't follow the rules as far as putting their name on it. So I'm not asking a question. Those are the rules, folks. Here's a question. What is one very specific way to reduce our monthly maintenance fees? And this one starts with Ben? Well, yeah, I mean, it says monthly, but it's obviously quarterly.
Quarterly. Okay, we know what you mean. Well, I think that each of these, I have the budget right in front of me. I think each of these line items have to be broken down because there are subsets within them that could be modified or could be changed. It's just, you know, it's a matter of extravagance. We don't have to be extravagant. There are ways of cutting back. But I'd like to see these budget items reduced to subdivision so that I can see exactly what we can cut.
Harris?
If you look at the budget, which I've had the opportunity to do a couple times, we usually start with a pretty go ahead from where we were the year before, see if there's savings, then we look to the growth part. How many people live in a cul-de-sac and wanted lighting? Okay, the budget went up. How many people, just trying to think, we're talking about the merge on the blacktop on Tivoli Lakes Boulevard, the merge area with the reflectors. Do people have a problem with that? Is there a safety issue? Mm-hmm. That costs money. A lot of where our budget has gone up have been items, one-time off items that need to be done And that's going to happen every year. Don't think that we don't have things to do and it's going to accelerate. We're coming to a point where the life of our property, the life expectancy is going to a point where our reserves are going to have to be used.
Okay, Candace?
Excuse me. This is what, I don't know how many of you have been coming out of either Adriano or the tennis courts or where the clubhouse is and tried to make a turn, but you couldn't see the oncoming traffic because of the height and the depth of the shrubbery and the trees. I know many times coming out of the fitness center trying to make that left turn, I'd have to stop and look carefully before I made that turn. It's very difficult to see. Excuse me. Please stop doing that. That's very rude. That's very rude. Okay? What I'm saying is, when that landscaping down Tivoli Lakes Boulevard was first put together, I think you have to look at where it starts and where it ends, understand how much monthly maintenance that's going to cost, why do you need all of that there, and then come to a decision based on safety and expenses. And right now, it's very difficult to make that turn. I think it is. I think the monthly maintenance for that whole Tivoli Lakes shrubbery is excessive. I think if you do a line item and find out what each thing costs, I think maybe we can come down on some areas.
Jeffrey?
I have a nephew who just turned 29 last week, and he came to visit me. He hasn't been here in about a year. The first thing he said to me, "Uncle Jeff, wow, what did they do on that street? How amazing that looks." Yes, it costs money to maintain, but it's worth it. It creates value. Now, you can sit down and go through this budget, and I've done this many times. Which child do you want to set free? Is it, how about only 8 hours a day of the manned gatehouse? The other time we could have one of those push-the-button fences that you have to get in. That would be one way. Cut your own grass. That's another way. That's not the lifestyle I want, and I don't think that's the lifestyle you want. So, yes, you got to be prudent in creating your budget, but you got to be realistic as well.
By the way, this is the last question I have. Anyone has any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. Can I have 1 minute to respond? Other questions you'd like to put in this little box? No? Okay, well, I thank all of you for coming. And I particularly like to thank all the candidates, Harris, Candace, Jeff, and Ben, for volunteering to do this. Can't hear you, Jerry.
They have a closing statement.
Closing statements? Oh, yeah. I was actually getting to that eventually. We're doing closing statements in the same order that we started. Everybody has 3 minutes. Harris, are you ready?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Take your time. Unless somebody wants to go first.
Do it in reverse order. Reverse order.
I could do it in reverse order. I could start in the middle and work to the
You
sides.
can do that too.
Okay, Harris, we're going to let you go last then. I'm going to go in reverse order. Ben, you're up. 3 minutes.
I'll just stay here. I want to say that when I came to look at 2 houses here at Tivoli Lakes, as I drove in, I looked around and I looked at that medium and I said to myself, this is a beautiful place. So I think it is. Our homes look great. I didn't realize how much it cost or what it costs to maintain, but that's the cost of greatness is there. Now, once again, I think that's what's hurting us right now. And I said, this goes back to fiscal responsibility. We have 2 humongous projects this year, the trees and the house painting. That's a lot for 1 year. I really believe that could have been more carefully planned, or because that's going to cause your price to go up. And that's the kind of thing that we have to look at and be careful about. And I do believe that we need to have more town meetings and have more input and let everybody know what things are going to cost and let the will of the community succeed.
Jeffrey?
Let me correct something. House painting is not 1 year. House painting is projected over an 8-year period of time. Money is put away every month into reserves for the house painting. It may be spent in 1 year, but it's accumulated over the 8 prior years. So let's understand what you're talking about. Now, as far as living in Tivoli Lakes, it's the greatest move I ever made, and I've lived in a number of different places. We have great people here. Our people make the difference. That's a slogan that I created that's been used in brochures. And I truly believe that the current board has done an admirable job. Those who are going to be remaining for another year will continue to see the projects fulfilled successfully, and I'm hoping to join them with your help.
Candace?
Well, you know, fiduciary responsibility is a big deal, and I know creating a budget is really, really difficult. You've got to take into you have to take into consideration so many things. I do know that in 2017, the quarterly dues were approximately $1,430, $1,460, and now they are over $1,700. We're all on, many of us are on fixed incomes. Many of us have small pensions. Everybody's got a different budget. Everybody's working differently. And I know it's difficult to do that. My goal would be to work out a budget that would be fiscally responsible for everybody. I want to keep Tivoli beautiful. I want it to be a well-maintained community. And I think it has been so far. But I also think there's room for compromise. I think that the board and the community have to get together and share ideas, exchange ideas, and come to some sort of an agreement where everybody, because you can't please everybody, where it's a compromise and we can get the best done for our community with what we have to work with.
Thank you. Harris?
Just really one item, Ben, not to call you by name, call you out by name, but we, as Jeff said, we do have a reserve system reserve, and that money is planned to be spent periodically, just like we replace the fitness equipment on a regular basis as it ages out. One of the things that you did mention was the tree replacement, the hurricane. We did not plan for the hurricane.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank my wife.
In general?
This is a planning for this planning committee for later. All right, thank you all for coming, and thank you to the candidates.
Thank you all. Okay, we need to adjourn the meeting. I have no idea.